Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this InnoBuyer webinar on how to master innovation needs identifications. So this is the webinar that we provide in the scope of the InnoBuyer project, and the agenda of today will be on the overview of the InnoBuyer project. I'm Miguel Gonçalves, and I'll be presenting the project that will support procurers to be more innovative. And we will also have a training session on how to master innovation needs for InnoBuyer. And at the end of the session, we will have a section to answer all your questions. You will be able to use the Q&A box don't hesitate during the entire workshop to post your questions there, and we will go through them all at the end of the event. So starting with InnoBuyer in a nutshell. So InnoBuyer is a project funded by the European Commission via the European Innovation Council. It's a project implemented by three organizations, F6S, CBIT, and TIC Biomed. And in a nutshell, it offers expertise and funding support to solve your organization challenges with innovative companies. So in the four sequential steps, we help big organizations, public and private, to identify and describe their innovation needs, and unmet innovation needs, and turn them into a challenge that can be understood and attractive for SMEs. In the second phase, we help the big organization, public and private, to connect with innovative SMEs who can solve those challenges. On the third phase, we fund and we help monitoring the co-creation of pilots to really, in a period of 10 months, solve and create a minimum viable product to solve the challengers' needs. And if the pilots are successful, we also provide legal support to prepare a tender for which the goal is to the big organizations, public and private, to acquire the solution developed in the co-creation phase. And for each step of this process, InnoBuyer offers funding support to make sure that you can have and allocate your internal resources to this demanding process. What is really important for you to know is at this stage, until the end of March, big organizations, public and private, can apply for InnoBuyer with up to 4 unmet innovation needs. And the goal will be to select 15 organizations to go through the other steps. And in total, each organization can have the value of funding support up to 100,000 euros, in which one part is directly for the procurer side, the big organization with innovation needs, and another part, 58,500 euros, for the solver to develop the solution for you, the big organization with innovation needs. So we have our open call, and we invite all organizations who want to be more innovative through the procurement of innovation to apply for our open call until the end of March at 17 CET. And you can find all the information about the call for challenge in the InnoBuyer website at innobuyer.eu/challenges. You will have there the application kit, mainly based on the guidelines for applicants with all the terms and conditions to apply, eligibility criteria, evaluation criteria, and also the template that we call the Annex 2 proposal form, which should be used to describe your unmet innovation needs, your challenge, and you will be able to submit up to 4 unmet innovation needs into your application. So those are 2 critical documents to read if you are interested in the InnoBuyer program. On this page, you also have the recording of our previous webinar on the Open Call for Challenges webinar, in which we go in detail into the evaluation in the InnoBuyer program, but also the evaluation criteria, the selection criteria, and the entire program as a whole. So I really invite you to look at it. key benefits of applying for the InnoBuyer Call for challengers. It's totally 100% funded by the European Union. There's 41,500 euros for organizations to be involved in the program, and 58,500 euro for the innovative SMEs to respond to the challenge. It's demand driven. It's really based on your organization's innovation needs. We are doing as much as we can to reduce the paperwork involved with the entire participation in the program, and you will also have continuous support in all the phases from the InnoBuyer team. So those are the key benefits to have in mind. What I will also like to precise is that the workshop of today will be mainly focused on the proposal form that applicants will have to fill and to describe their innovation, their unmet innovation need. And Jorge Gonzalez from TIC Biomed, we will go deep in how in the few steps how to do this appropriately to increase the chances that you be selected in the call for challengers. And I'll also grasp this opportunity to invite you to join our upcoming conference on procurement and innovation in 2023, challenges and opportunities. We will have a keynote speaker from the European Commission talking about this topic. We will have a roundtable of experts from different fields, also to assess do a state of play on the topic of the conference. And we will also have reverse pitch session in which many projects that are funded by the European Commission and help procurers to be more innovative will be presented in a fast-paced session. And all of this will be done in 1.5 hours. So really good content in a short period of time. So we invite you all to attend this. And if you are attending this session, you will receive an invitation via email to be part of this conference. So without further ado, I will pass the word to Jorge Gonzalez to talk about how you can increase your chances of describing a good proposal for the InnoBuyer Call for challenges. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miguel. I'm going to share my screen. So as Miguel mentioned, I'm the director of TIC Biomed. We are one of the partners of InnoBuyer. And here is what I'm going to talk. I'm going to motivate you to join in InnoBuyer. Okay, I guess that if you are already here, it's because you are initially interested, and hopefully by the end of the session, if you have any doubt, you for sure will apply. Okay, I will also explain what is our experience in helping to draft challenges and unmet needs. We are going to give you 8 clues to follow the process that you can have in order to submit a powerful challenge to our call. Then I will go through the proposal template in case you have any doubts, and then I will end up with a practical example. I have to say that there will be a Q&A session after that. So please, again, as Miguel was saying before, submit your questions as soon as you have them, and then we will go through them. It will be first come, first served. So if you have any questions, for the sake of time, please send them as soon as you have them. So why InnoBuyer? We want to help to any needs that you have regarding in your organization, in your daily work, in something that you see, okay, this is not working. We want to help you to get a solution for that. Okay, and we are not only doing that. We are not only helping you to draft an initial need as you may have it and convert it into a challenge that maybe the solution ecosystem can understand. We will also help you to identify who is the best supplier for your need. Okay, so once you have an unmet need and you are one of the 15 unmet needs that are selected in InnoBuyer, then the next step is that we are going to help you to identify the best supplier to solve the need. Actually, they are not going to solve it, so to say, in a cave with no communication with you. They are going to do that in a co-creation style, meaning that you both work on the same solution at the same time, exchanging feedback, exchanging knowledge, prior knowledge that you may have. And we are going to fund that, okay? We are going to fund all these states. If you are familiar with other challenge-oriented approaches, like, for example, pre-commercial procurement or public procurement of innovation, one of the key difference with those instruments is that we have a very low bureaucracy process that hopefully that helps you to get through from the need identification to the identifying of a successful solution, and then very importantly, and this is the last point, but for us is very, very important, is that if the solution that you co-create is successful, meaning that it complies with the requirements and with the expected impact, the last step is to get it adopted, to get it implemented, okay? So there is a real impact. And we are going to do a number of things to maximize the chances that that happens, okay? Starting with one of them that is asking you for commitment, rather than you, that you likely are the one of the with the idea, with the unmet need, your organization to be behind you. So when the time is that you identify that a solution is successful, the next step, which is sometimes the hardest step, this valley of death valley of pilots, is crossed. So there is an acquisition, an implementation, and escalation. Okay, we will come to that later. Now, about InnoBuyer, we have more than 10 years experience in this demand-driven co-creation processes. We have helped a lot of organizations, especially public ones. We are specialized in the area of health, but what I'm going to tell you is across sector, okay? In identifying unmet needs, helping them to polish into what we call challenge. So the idea is that you submit an unmet need. We help you to polish that unmet need into a diamond that we call a challenge. And that challenge is what is transferred to the solution space, so they can be a disco creation. Okay, our experience is that what you submit need to be polished with information from your own company. Say you are proposing a need that maybe requires a digital solution, then the IT department has to be part of it. The ethics, the legal management, these kind of departments, they have to provide their feedback, and we, with all that information, we can help you to draft. So the other side of the coin, the solver space, can better understand and especially be motivated to co-create with you a solution. Now, we start now to get into the chase of the presentation, which is these 8 clues. The first one, and if you ever had to remember anything about this presentation, please be this. So please pay attention. This literally changed my life when I learned about this. It is very, very, very different a need than a solution. Though in real life, we sometimes, or most of the time, we confuse them, okay? So if I need to hang a painting, that's a need. If I say I need a drill is a solution to the painting, to hang the painting, okay? And sometimes we get obsessed with, I need a drill, I need to buy a drill. Where do I get a drill? Wait a minute. There are other options for hanging a picture on the wall, okay? And then they don't focus just on the drill, focus on what you want to get, okay? So the solution is something stable in time, okay? For example, if you want to go from point A to point B, you may use your feet, you may use a bicycle, you may use a car, you may use a train, an airplane, and still what it will be seen in the future, okay? So the need is, I want to go from point A to point B. The solution can be multiple, okay? So what we are asking you at this, in this stage of InnoBuyer is to focus on the need. And you should be very close on the need. And you should be able to phrase that in a way that is the core problem that you want to address, okay? So if you start saying, my need is that I need an app, you are starting in the wrong end, okay? A need starts, this is my problem. I need to help patients. I need to help citizens do this. I need to add more value to this. I need to reduce the amount of money that I need to do these things. That's a need, okay? If I say, I need an app, I need a drill, I need a bicycle, you are starting on this solution space and not that the right place to start, okay? And always remember that a solution may have, as a need may have different solutions, okay? Maybe you are hinting the one that is best, but sometimes you don't know, okay? Maybe that's the beauty of co-creation, okay? Maybe someone else knows a better solution than the one you are thinking at the time of writing the need. So that's why we asked you to completely separate what the need is from what a possible solution is. At this stage, we only want you to focus on the need, okay? Now, well, what is a need? Okay, if you don't not sure after what I said before, just what cost you paying? If you are on your daily basis, okay, assume that you work for what we call a challenger organization. You may be a public organization, again, like a regional public provider, or you work for a municipality, or you work in education, transport, energy, whatever, okay? Usually a big company or a big organization that can be either public or private, okay? So what causes you pain? Frustration. I'm wasting my time. And you have thought, there has to be a better way to do this. We are spending too much time in useless things that they don't add any value, okay? So think about what are your pains. The higher the pain, the better the solution. I mean, the more impactful and likely you will have more chances to be selected in InnoBuyer. Now, sometimes we just say, okay, this is my need, and you just go to the surface, to the immediate consequence, or the immediate easy to grasp need. What I suggest you is that you follow these 5 why rules, which is basically why this happened, and then when you get an answer is why this happened. Usually there is the 5 is like the magic number that at the end you will get to the core, okay, to what is the deep problem. And sometimes it's not, say, technology, sometimes it's people or organization, okay, or processes, okay. So, but please make this reflection, because then if you just stay at the surface problem, even if you solve the surface problem, you will not get the need solved, because there is more deeper level need that will not be solved, and then you will continue to have the problem that you have, the pain that you have, okay. Now, there are millions of needs, okay, literally millions of needs. So probably even the same person can identify a number of them. So which one do I need? You know that each organization can submit a maximum of 4. So my suggestion is that you choose the one that it will have the most impact, okay? The more value, the more economic savings, okay? So those will have the more chances. If you are in doubt, I suggest that you go to your colleagues and you ask them, which one do you think has more value? It has more impact in the long run. And hopefully through that dialogues and these conversations, you can have a better idea which ones to prioritize, perhaps which one to put more effort if you are submitting a number of them, okay? So remember, at the end of the day, what we look here in InnoBuyer is to have impact. We don't want to do innovation for the sake of innovation. What we want to have is to have impact. So start with impact from the beginning. It will give you more chances. Now, if I were you, one of the main issues with submitting a need, and because this is one of the criteria, the selection criteria that we have, is how do I make sure that my need fits into the InnoBuyer framework conditions? You know, we have a number of months to do the co-creation. We have an economic support to that we are basically limited by the rules of the European Commission. And you maybe know, well, I know about my need, but I don't know what is the market price for building a solution or for procuring a solution at the end of the innovation cycle. How do I know? Okay, so there is one thing. I mean, there is 65,000 euros. Okay, so we will not solve climate change with this. We will not have money to create a new electronic health record. We will not have money to create a new customer relationship management. Okay, we have to go to a smaller problems. Okay, so we are going to give you some reference now from a previous project that is called In Demand, and I'm asking my colleague Katia to share this information in the chat. So in that project, we identified a number of challenges. Actually, it was Murcia, Paris, and Oulu in Finland, and each of us identified around 8 challenges that they were approved. So you have the information in the In Demand webpage, and we encourage you to have a look so you can get an idea about the scope or the needs that will fit into InnoBuyer. Because even before I mentioned that impact is very, very important, it has to be, at the end of the day, it has to be value for money. And the money that we have is fixed. So you should try to identify, okay, this is the money that I have. So which option do I have to have the major impact? Okay, but always taking into account the constraints that we are imposed in the InnoBuyer, okay, regarding time, co-creation time, and money for co-creation, okay? Another approach could see that in your proposal, say, okay, this is what it must have, okay? So the solution has to solve these critical points. And if possible, and there is time and budget, then it will be great to also try to solve this other nice to have, okay, kind of an onion approach. Okay. Now, one thing that I think is kind of innovative within this process that we are launching with InnoBuyer is that we are asking for commitment, especially from the organizational commitment. Actually, we are giving a very high score in the evaluation card. Okay, it's 30%, and it's the highest score. And why do we ask that? Knowing that getting commitment, especially written commitment in big organizations, in public organizations, is very difficult. Okay, because we know and we have experienced that so many times that if there is no commitment now, there will be no adoption later. That's what I mentioned before with this valley of death of pilots. So what we know, we have experienced, is that even if co-creation is successful, even if it is very successful, most of the times it doesn't get adopted. And if there is no adoption, there is no impact. And we have all wasted our time, our money, our opportunity cost in doing something that has no impact. And you can tell me, yeah, but we have learned. Okay, but that's for me is research. What we are doing here is trying to get an impact, because the solutions that we are proposing will be very, very close to market, ideally to be ready to be adopted. Okay, so if we don't have impact, it can be a hobby, it can be research, it can be something else, but it's not innovation. And if we don't have impactful innovation, it's such a waste that we should not follow up. Okay, because it's not just that non-impactful innovation is neutral, you are destroying the faith on innovation at your organization. So that's why we insist so much in commitment, because without commitment, there is no impact. And be aware that initial commitment doesn't mean that it's going to be adoption. Initial commitment is necessary, but not enough. And one of the values that we will give you during the InnoBuyer project is that we are going to help you along the way to maximize chances of commitment. Now, we know it is very hard, as I was saying, to get written commitment from the organization. But if you don't have that, again, you will not go very far. So it is much better to know that in advance, that then later up in the project after you have spent your time, usually outside hours outside your regular job, maybe taking those hours from your family or your sleep. So it's better to know that at the beginning, that if your organization is not thinking that this is valuable, then it is not a priority. So even if you are very fast at the beginning, you get the challenge from the beginning in the InnoBuyer program, it will not get very far, and you will be very, very frustrated. And we will have been spending public money into something that is not going to work. So it is very hard to get the commitment from the organization. Ask yourself why. Why is that so hard? It's perhaps because it's not a challenge that is a priority for your organization. So then you can start a dialogue saying, okay, so this is not so priority. What is? Okay, let me help you by helping me in identifying what is priority, and then maybe you can change your initial idea, or you can polish your initial idea of the unmet need into something that is going to be priority, and then you can get a commitment from your organization, especially the higher on the hierarchy, the better. Okay, so we know this is very difficult, but at the same time, because it's difficult, it's because it's valuable also. Now, money is nice. Okay, everybody says, I want money, I need money, and that's okay. We are handing you money. Okay, but remember that this is not about, this will not be a one-shot co-creation project. Okay, what we are trying to educate also public organizations and big organizations is the value of demand-driven co-creation. This is some of the organizations are very familiar with that, but others don't. So the ideal situation is that we, through the process of going of this process, we maximize chances of impactful innovation because the organization learns about demand-driven co-creation. Okay, actually, the ultimate goal, and that's one of the goals that we have in InnoBuyer, is to trigger or to help to nurture an innovation-friendly culture, which is basically very difficult to have that in public organizations, big organizations. And that's our challenge as InnoBuyer. We are trying to get these kind of organizations to be more innovation-friendly. And for that, we need people to be innovation-friendly. We need processes to be innovation-friendly. We need commitment from top management. Okay, because at the end of the day, it's not so much about the money and the strategy. What this is about the culture of the organization. Thanks to InnoBuyer, there is now a process, internal process in the organization where entrepreneurs can submit challenges and the organization can take them, even with external money or with internal money or whatever. And there is someone that takes care that is successful in the long run, and that is repeated periodically, say every year. That's the goal. That's the ultimate goal. So the need is not only to have the InnoBuyer challenge to get solved. That's very nice, but it's just the first step. What you want to get at the organizational level is that this becomes part of the culture. This becomes part of that's the way we do things here. And we think that a lot of organizations, they don't have that as part of the culture. And hopefully this InnoBuyer is a catalyzer for that. Now, last but not least important is you have nothing to lose by preparing a proposal for InnoBuyer. Okay, nothing happens. Well, maybe you have wasted your time, but you will have learned how to draft an unmet need, and you can take that learning for future opportunities. And I can tell you there are a lot of money for funding innovation, perhaps not so much money for public or organizations to fund innovation in themselves, but because of this connection with the small and medium enterprises and other organizations, you can always twist instruments to get funded. Okay, so there is a lot of money for innovation, and even if you are not successful in InnoBuyer, you can always use that unmet need and this process for future opportunities. So just do it. Okay, put in black against white your idea, get feedback from colleagues, engage with top management to commit to your met need, and do a hard work in writing the proposal, something that convinces the evaluators that there is value for money, that what you are proposing it will have a lot of impact, and just submit. Okay, remember 31st of March is the deadline. So this is the summary of the 8 steps. Okay, so and you will have access to this presentation. By the way, there will be comments on the PowerPoint, so it will add more information about what is on the screen. Okay. Now I will go to the InnoBuyer for proposal team. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I prefer that you guys put any questions that you may have about the template on the Q&A session. But just to let you know that probably the most difficult one is going to be get the commitment. Okay, so the sooner you start the process of getting these letters of support, the better. All the other parts are quite typical. The impact, regarding impact, the more you can quantify the impact, the better. Okay, so we know that by your solving your problem, things will be better, faster, smarter, cheaper. We understand that, but the more you can quantify that, the more credibility you will have in front of the evaluators. Okay. Regarding the team, we strongly suggest that you have multidisciplinary teams. Okay. Again, if your solution is going to involve likely digital, engage at least one person from the IT department. Again, I always put samples from healthcare, but it can be for anything, but for any sector. But say you are in a healthcare setting, this will involve people that are healthcare professionals, but even the health of the unit to get this kind of political support when needed. Okay, and if you again in this sector, if you are going to have ethical problems or legal issues, involve someone that is an expert on those issues. So you start by design considering them. Okay, visibility. That's what we mentioned before. Again, that may be tricky to know exactly if your need fits into the InnoBuyer conditions, but I gave you some clues already on this. Okay, and innovation scalability. What we don't want is that you guys propose something that is already in the market. Okay, so if there is something in the market that fits into your need, you should just go and buy it. Okay, because at the end of the day, that's the ultimate step of innovation, which is there is appropriation that is successful, and now the next step is to procure for it. So if there is already in the market, there is no need to repeat the innovation process. You just go and buy. Okay, so we don't want to fund things that are in the market, and we want to fund things that are very scalable. So something that is not just for your organization, something that can be leveraged for a lot of organizations. So the solver, as we call it, the company that is providing the solution, can have a new business line, a new commercialization opportunity by selling this solution to other organizations in your sector. Okay, so that's why the more scalable and the more innovative, so to say, the more chances. Okay, but again, commitment is very important, and you just go through the my suggestion is you just go to the percentages of the evaluation criteria, so you know where to put the stress in your proposal writing. Letters of commitment, as we say, the higher in the hierarchy and the more credibility they will have, same as the wording of this letter. You can have interest, support, or commitment regarding what will happen if the co-creation is successful. The more degree of commitment, the higher in the hierarchy, the more credibility you will have. And let us support. This is regarding scalability. If you can bring other organizations to say, yes, we will also be interested in getting this challenge solved. We even are interested in being part of the co-creation as a kind of a person having a look to it. Maybe we don't engage on a day-to-day, but we would like to get informed and we would like to provide our feedback. That, of course, helps a lot into the scalability criteria. Okay, so I'm getting to the end of my presentation now by sharing with you a practical example. This is one of the in-demand stories. For us, is one of the success stories from in-demand. Basically, the need was to improve the quality of life of patients with epilepsy. Okay, and the idea was to have a more convenient communication with them and empowering them for managing the disease. Okay, so here in the impact, this was for me very good example of what we mean before. I meant before about quantifying impact. Okay, so they stated this is after the massaging of the initial need into a challenge. Okay, but here, as you can say, very concrete indicators if the co-creation was successful or not. Because at the end of the day, at some point of time, the co-creation ends, and then you guys, the challenger organization, needs to assess, has this been a successful or not? And for that, you need to put the rules of the game from the beginning. Okay, you cannot say at the end, okay, this was successful because I think it's successful or not. You have to say that, and when we we open your challenge to the solver community, they need to understand if they can make it or not make it. Okay, they need to understand this is what I'm asking for. Do you think that with your solution, with your technology, you can reach to these indicators at the end of the co-creation? They need to know that, because otherwise we are wasting our time. And it cannot be that the criteria is set up at the end of the co-creation. Okay, you should not have a moving target. You should state the target from the beginning as soon as you contact the solver. And thus, I mentioned that before, this is support that we can give you to tell you, okay, the solver community is not going to understand this. So please refine, please incorporate more background information by including links to these indicators that you provide. For example, quality 10 indicator. Okay, you maybe they can Google it, but sometimes it's not just a question of Google it. You need to incorporate more information. Or sometimes what we see a lot is that they speak internal jargon at healthcare organizations or any organization, challenger organizations, that nobody understands, even inside the organization. So we ask them, okay, you need to polish this test. It has to be more comprehensible for people outside your organization. And again, this is the kind of added value that InnoBuyer can provide, okay, apart from that. Now, for the team, again, this was a multidisciplinary team involving patients. Patients were very involved in the feedback regarding the user interface, the functionality, and so on. We believe that co-creation is not only between, say, the proposer of the challenge of the unmet need with the solver company. We need to incorporate, or you guys need to incorporate end users into the loop, and in order to have a solution that is accepted by everybody, the organization, the healthcare professionals, the solver, and the end users. Okay. And of course, there was an IT solution, so the IT department in the organization was also okay, and there was management within the organization, which is also very important because one thing that, well, this is not perhaps I cannot extend too much about this, but at co-creation time, I can assure you there will be issues, okay, between the solver and the challenger, because they come from different cultures. That's granted, that's taken. The important thing is not that there are issues. The important thing is how you solve those issues. That most of them are the main two issues are communication, because you have different mindsets, and the other thing is expectations. Usually, the companies are more eager to advance, or they can advance faster. And the ones on the challenger organization, they cannot cope with that rhythm because they have their daily job and they have to do most of the times the co-creation on top of that. Okay, but because we have that experience in the consortium, we can help you at least to anticipate those problems and to have the tools or the rules of the game in place to minimize the impact of those issues, or even to prevent them completely. I'm getting to the end of my presentation. I just want to remind you that if you are interested in InnoBuyer and submission in InnoBuyer, you should read very careful, the documentation that is there. I know that there's a lot of text, okay? But remember, we are in a context of a European Commission project, and we have to be very careful with the calls that we submit. So I know it's an extra effort to read so many pages, but please do so there are no surprises, okay? Now, we have been collecting frequently asked questions since we released the documentation. So we suggest you to have a look to them. Then write and iterate in the writing, either by yourself or contacting with other colleagues to improve your text. And remember, end of this month, okay, 31st of March. Again, try not to submit the last day, okay? Or at least try to be very sure that what you submit on the last day is the good version, okay? Don't hurry up in the last minute. Wait a minute. This is it. Maybe I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can. I'm asking also Miguel to support me with the questions and answers. I see that there are 7 of them. I think that the first one was on the more kind of logistics. Would you like to take that, Miguel?
Sure. And first of all, thank you very much for the presentation. There was a lot of useful and practical tips that will be really helpful for all the applicants that will take advantage of the call for challengers. And thank you very much for that. So starting with the questions. So the first one, for the last phase, and let me share the screen just to remind you what are the phases. For the last phase, tender, does the public organization need to pay for acquiring the solution? InnoBuyer only provide money for issuing the tender. So that is correct. On the last phase, the organization will get 15,000 euros to get legal support, specifically for the concept of your country and your organization to prepare the launch of the tender, but not for acquiring the solution. That will be, let's say, the 5th phase outside of the InnoBuyer project. So what we want is to really help your organization go through all the phases up until that moment of the tender launch. So InnoBuyer doesn't offer money to acquiring the solution at the tender phase. So first one is answered. Second question, when you talk about 15 organizations selected, is it 15 for procurers and 15 for innovation needs, or is it a total? So according to our guidelines for applicants, we will select up to 15 unmet innovation needs. So even if you submit up to 4 unmet innovation needs as an organization, only one of them will be selected. So in total, we will have selected in this call for challengers 15 innovation unmet needs from 15 different organizations. Third question, procure are considered as challenges as well, if I understand correctly. Yes, procurers in the call for challenges are considered challenges. Those are the ones proposing problems, proposing challenges, proposing unmet innovation needs. If I have an idea for an organizational need, but where and how can I check that maybe a solution already exists somewhere, and I can buy it off the shelf? Do you have a database of solutions? So this is something that each organization should do prior to apply to InnoBuyer, is to check if there is any solution already and easily available in the market. We are not providing a database of solutions, so this is a self-assessment that each organization must do before applying for InnoBuyer, to check if there is any available or easily available solution on the market, according also to our guidelines for applicants.
Just sorry to interrupt, Miguel, but on this point, it will be impossible for us to have a kind of yellow pages of all the solutions that are in the market. Okay, we will never do that. So I understand the question about, yeah, but I'm not in the solution space. How do I know? First thing will be, if you think that there can be any solution, say that well, this is going to be a digital solution, you can try to look for keywords. Okay, sometimes because you don't know the keywords, then you will get no answers. But then because the community uses other keywords, and then you will have plenty of answers. But again, in this very same example, maybe you have a colleague or the colleague of a friend that maybe works in that space. Say again, for the sake of the discussion, digital. Maybe you can go and ask them. Okay, and in the worst case, submit it. Okay, submit it, because maybe you don't know, but it's better that you don't. It's better to go more than less in this case. So submit it, and then the evaluators will know. Maybe they have more experience in the market, but that's also feedback. Okay, that's also feedback that there are solutions in the market, and then you can go directly and purchase them. So my suggestion is these 3 steps. First, try to look in the internet. Okay, then try to also in parallel contact with people that could be close to that solution space, and then when in doubt, just submit.
Thank you very much, Jorge. Next question. Is this an annual call, or are there more open calls per year? So that's really a good question, and 2 considerations here. We will indeed launch later on the project a new call where challenge and solver can jointly propose at the same time a solution and a challenge. But we will have fewer slots for that, and it will be not this year, but next year. And is this an annual call? No, but the InnoBuyer project as a whole is also a test bed for this new demand-driven co-creation of solutions. So the purpose is also to test this innovative way of doing this process, and eventually, if the project is successful, this can lead to other projects following this same philosophy. So just to give you also this broader view on the project. Will you share the recording? Yes, this session is being recorded, and it will be shared on the InnoBuyer website and InnoBuyer YouTube channel as well, and the slides will be shared as well. And if you are attending this session, you will receive by email the links of this content. Hi, thank you for this very insightful briefing. My question, why do you only focus on large organizations, and what definition do you use? So the focus on large organization is only regarding the impact. So as Jorge said, it is very important to have an impact and create solutions that can be used by many customers or many citizens. So that's the focus. So just to be clear, small and medium-sized enterprise with innovation needs can also apply for InnoBuyer. That's clear. But they have to show that the solution that will be developed, co-created, will have an impact. And one of the ways to measure impact is by the number of people who will benefit from it. So that's why the focus is more on usually on large organizations, because they have many customers or they serve many citizens. But to be clear, small and medium-sized companies can also submit unmet innovation needs, but they have to explain why it will have a big impact in general. What procedures do you use to perform specific projects in the framework of InnoBuyer? Are that PCPs. Jorge, do you want to take this one?
Yes, I want to take that one. So one of the difference between InnoBuyer and pre-commercial procurement is that they both follow the same conceptual approach, which is demand-driven and co-creation. Meaning that at the beginning of the pre-commercial procurement, they start with the identification of a need, but then in terms of as an instrument, as a process, then you have to launch a call for tenders that has to be publicly printed in an official bulletin, okay? And then from there, you have three phases. One is that where you have a number of solvers, you usually choose between 4 and 5, and then they have to produce in the first phase, the 4 of them, a report, and then there is a filter. In the second phase, you ask them for some kind of more technical advanced prototype, and then in the last one, there is implementation. And that usually takes years, and that usually takes millions of euros, okay? In InnoBuyer, we are basically doing the same conceptually, but it will be much, much, much leaner, less bureaucratic, okay? So the process starts with the identification of a unmet need, which is what we are doing that. But then at the selection of the solver, we will only select one. And you don't need to publish that in an official bulletin. It will just be published on the InnoBuyer website, okay? And then the co-creation, we only co-create with that one. And then there will be legal support, something that usually PCPs don't provide. And then we spend all of them, PCP and InnoBuyer, to get to the same point, which is procurement of that innovation if successful. So answering your question, it is the same conceptual approach, but in terms of instrument deployment, it's way faster, cheaper, and less bureaucratic than PCP, if you are familiar with it.
Yes, I will emphasize on the reduced paperwork involved. So during the InnoBuyer program, you don't have to launch a tender. In terms of financial mechanism, we will use grants. So if you are a challenger, through a sub-grant agreement, you will receive the money to be involved in the project. The solver, we also sign a sub-grant agreement to get the funding to develop a solution for you, but you will not have to launch a tender to pay the solver, etc., and all that bureaucracy. So this is why we also want to make it as leaner as possible, as Jorge would say, even in the administrative side of it. Who is awarding final procurement? Who is the procurer, the EC, final user? In what procedures? Jorge, do you want to take this one as well?
Yes, I'm very sorry to use this terminology like a procurer buyer. This is basically following European Commission jargon. What the European Commission wants to have with this kind of instruments like InnoBuyer is that there is more open innovation within public organizations or big companies or whoever has a big problem to solve. And that the generic name is procurer, basically, because we expect that at the end of the innovation, there will be a procurement, which is basically launching a tender to acquire the solution. So you maybe as a person that works for this kind of organization, you don't see yourself as a procurer, especially if you are putting the problem in the table. You just see that you work for an organization that has a problem. And that's our bad for using this European Commission jargon. So basically, but answering your question, a procurer will be what we also call the challenger. That be the organization that puts the unmet need on the table. Okay, that's what we refer for that. And then that organization will work with what we call a solver in the say someone with the technology to solve that challenge in a co-creation. And then, as I said, the final goal is that if the co-creation is successful, there will be an acquisition. And usually acquisition in the public sphere is called a procurement, a public procurement, okay? Public procurement of innovation. So that's why we use this jargon. But for you, what is important is that you at this stage, submitting a challenge, you are the organization that is the challenger. And hopefully, if that challenge is accepted and the co-creation is successful, then your organization will launch a procurement. And that's why we call them a procurement. So the procurer is not a final user. The final user will be part of the co-creation. Okay, the procurer is not going to be the European Commission. The European Commission is paying for this consortium to put in place this instrument. The procurer is the organization that puts the challenge on the table. Okay, again, maybe terminology is not the best to understand this right away, but this is what it is. Hopefully, this is clear. Otherwise, put in again the question here in the questions and answers, please.
Thank you, Jorge. Next question: an SME can be a challenger or only a solver? Definitely, an SME can also be a challenger. If you have unmet innovation needs that can have an impact on many people, an SME can be a challenger as well. Does each organization contract its expert support? Can each organization select any expert support, or it's mandatory to contract a specific one? So we are talking here about the fourth phase of the project, in which if the pilot co-creation is successful, InnoBuyer will provide funding support for you to contract a legal expert to provide you support to prepare the tender. And InnoBuyer will offer a pool of experts in the website, but you are not limited to that pool of experts. So you will receive funding support to contract expert that best fits your needs to prepare the tender that you have to launch. What procedures do you use to perform specific projects in the framework of InnoBuyer? Are that PCPs? I think we already answered that one.
Yeah. It's from the same person, actually.
Yes. Is it possible to share the slides? Definitely. You will get link to regarding and the slides after this session. So the European Commission is paying for the development of innovation and final user for buying solution for itself, correct? Jorge, you want to take this?
Yes, exactly this. So the challenger organization, okay, is put into place. So when we talk about final user, I guess there are, say, citizens or patients or healthcare professionals. So in principle, who is going to procure for that a successful solution is going to be the organization that puts the problem on the table, okay? Because you don't submit that as an individual or as a staff organization. It's the organization that takes care, because of there has to be a team of people from the organization working in the co-creation, okay? So answering your question, yes, the European Commission through the InnoBuyer Consortium is funding the whole initiative, but what we ask, and this is our aim, and what we want to support, is that if the co-creation is successful, then to encourage as much as possible that the organization that puts the challenger on the table, the challenger acquires that technology, and that should be that organization that procures for the innovation. Hopefully, is that clear enough?
Thank you very much, Jorge. I think we reached the last question. So last opportunity to post a new one.
No, there is one more.
There is one more, just okay. Thank you. Can you give example of how much did the solution cost for the EPICO project or from any other project, just for reference?
Right. What happened is that there was a co-creation that there was in the 60K range for the co-creation, and then there was an agreement, and that's something that you can think of, is that because there was this participation in the co-creation, then there was what we call in Spain a minor contract, that it was 15K, okay, to do the maintenance, and from that there is a maintenance that is already implemented in the Murcia, the region where that took place. If you go to the patient app that you can use to communicate with the regional healthcare provider, you can find the solution that is called Círculo de Pacientes, okay, patient circle. So what I'm saying this, and this is a kind of new information that I'm sharing you, is that you don't need, or you should not buy the solution at market price, because you have been part of the solution. So you can negotiate when you start the co-creation, the contractual, more or less, rules. So to say that, okay, if I'm going to put this, you are going to put this, and if we're interested, we don't want you to give us market prices. We want to have a lower price, or we can deliver an exchange of value. Okay, this is also part of the co-creation discussion. Okay, so just to give you an idea, so I wanted to state that in order to get the commitment in your organization, doesn't mean that you have to pay a lot of money for something that you have co-created. Okay, you should get better prices, much better conditions than other organizations that they have not been investing the time and the opportunity cost in the co-creation. Okay, now answering your question is that they got around 60K, right, because this is a limit, typical limit from the European Commission, and they did a follow-up contract that it was 15K euros for holding that that solution in the Servicio Murciano Salud, the challenger.
Thank you very much, Jorge. I think there's another question. Who evaluates the challenges and are there published evaluation criteria? So yes, definitely in the guidelines for applicants of our InnoBuyer Call for challengers, all the eligibility criteria and evaluation criteria are listed. And Jorge also mentioned some of them here today in the presentations. And who evaluates the challenges are the InnoBuyer consortium partners and external experts in procurement from different fields, depending on the challenge that are submitted. So it will be a mix. I just want to also emphasize that although many of the examples that were given here today are from the health sector, InnoBuyer accepts challenges and actually unmet innovation needs from any sector. So from transport, for logistics, for city-related challenges, we are accepting challenges from any sector. So just to make it very clear. And I think we are reaching the end of the session. Thank you very much for all the questions that were posted. Thank you very much, Jorge, for joining me on answering this and explaining so well all the concept and what is really important to have in mind when applying for InnoBuyer. Just before we close, just to invite you again to join our conference, Procurement and Innovation in 2023, Challenges and Opportunities, that will be held on the 21st of March, 1 hour and a half, really good event with a lot of news and to be unveiled from the European Commission side about also funding opportunities in this area. So don't miss it. And again, thank you very much for joining and have a lovely day.